I am so thrilled to have all of you here. I am Laura Eyrig. I'm the president of Austin 360. So as we've talked about, enter your name and your chapter in the chat. We will take attendance for Austin 360. And for the rest of you, we just want to know who you are and what chapters you're in. We will go through some inspiration this evening, and then we'll jump into our program, and we already have our guest here, so we're so glad about that. After the program, our guests are welcome to leave, or you can stay for our business meeting, and then we'll adjourn. Well, let's see. So first and foremost, we are so thrilled to welcome our special guest, the Honorable Alan D. Albright. He is the Federal District Judge of the Western District. He's in Waco. You probably heard us chatting a little bit. I do not know Judge Albright, but I'm getting to know him, so hope you enjoyed that. We have some of our ladies did some special research tonight, so I'm excited. Judge Albright, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, and your service.
Happy to be. I'm honored to be invited. I think it's awesome that I would get the chance to speak to folks like you all.
Thank you so much. So our inspiration tonight, I want to make note of Black History Month, which is all of February. And I think it's important to note that Black history is American history. And so if we can all kind of pause and think about that, I want to focus on, of course, Martin Luther King Jr., who's one of our most profound leaders. And I love this quote: "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" And I think we at NCL, we answer that question often. We work with our hearts and our hands to help a lot of people. Judge Albright does that as well. And so if you can think about that your whole life, I think that's a great quote and a question for you. President's Day is around the corner. So we want to make note of the first Black president, Barack Obama, and of course, the first female Black vice president, Kamala Harris. I follow them on social media. I don't know if you've read their books. Listening to their stories and how they got to where they are is really fascinating. So I hope you can think about that for President's Day. Want to make a note of 3 great resources. There are so many great books out there. I want to tell you about Amanda Gorman. She was the poet who spoke at Biden's inauguration. She's about 20 years old. So I think our mothers and daughters will both enjoy her book, Call Us What We Carry. If you haven't heard of Black History in 2 Minutes, it is definitely worth a watch. You can go online, blackhistoryin2minutes.com. I watch it on Instagram if you follow that. Within 2 minutes, you can get great snippets of information and learn a lot of history. One of the executive producers, or the executive producer, pardon me, is Robert Frederick Smith, and I actually work for his company, Vista Equity Partners, and it's headquartered here in Austin. So it kind of brings it back home to Austin and great things happening in our community. There are also some really nice podcasts you can listen to. The first one NPR produces, and then my screen is kind of messed up. Oops, I'm going to go back. That's another one that you can look at. I want to have a quick contest. So at Austin 360, we love to have fun. And so I want to ask every person, and I want to know, Judge Albright, your answer too. What is your favorite movie snack? And I want you to put it in chat. And I'm going to give away 2 prizes tonight. I'm going to give a mother-daughter pair from Austin 360 a prize, and I'm going to give a guest a prize. So Judge Albright, you might win. What do you like to eat when you watch movies?
I'm the most boring person in the world. It's milk duds for me. So
Milk duds. All right, ladies, are you entering your answers? I can't see it. Are you popcorn? Are you Junior Mints? Margot, are you putting something in there for me? All right, so I'm going to encourage everyone to have a mother-daughter movie night. If you haven't seen Hidden Figures, or if you have, this is a great true story about the brains behind how John Glenn got into space. It's a great story of women, and especially Black women, and it's a very different journey than white women, right? So I would say grab your mom, grab your daughter, grab your dog, Judge Albright, watch Hidden Figures. There's some inspiration about Black history. And I'm going to turn it over to the gut shows.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. That's an awesome movie. We love it. So definitely make time if you haven't seen it. My name is Kendra Gutschau. I am president-elect of the Austin 360 chapter. So I really want to just second what Laura said and welcome everyone, Judge Albright, and all of our guests from other chapters. I'm here with my daughter, Julia, who is an 8th grader at Cedar Park Middle School. And she's just going to give a little history on NCL as a national organization.
So NCL is a mother-daughter philanthropy organization. There are chapters of NCL throughout the U.S. There are currently 289 chapters in 31 states. Our main focus is on volunteering in our communities to promote human welfare. Every year, our organization gives back nearly 3 million hours to 6,000 different charities nationwide. And NCL has been around for 95 years. It was originally started in Los Angeles, California.
Uh-oh, you're muted, Gutschau. I think you. There you go.
Did you hear Julia's?
We heard the first part, so now tell us about NCL in Texas.
Oh, so sorry. Okay. Okay. So we had exciting news earlier, I guess in the fall, that NCL, the headquarters have been in California, but they are now moving to Texas. We have the most chapters. We have over 100 chapters in the state of Texas, and we are in District 18, which is the central Texas region, obviously. And we just wanted to point out, we think something really special about our chapter is that our members are spread out all throughout Austin. We're actually up here in Leander, and I know people are far south and central and everywhere. So it's really cool that we get to all meet each other through this organization and just be inclusive of everyone, regardless of where we live, and come together to promote unity and do amazing things together. So again, we want to welcome all the other chapters that joined us. And so it sounds like we have members of the Capital of Texas chapter, Hill Country, Lake Austin, San Antonio, and South Austin Wildflowers, and maybe some others too. So welcome. If we missed you, doesn't mean we're any less excited that you're here with us. So thank you.
Thank you, Gutschau. Our topic tonight is our civic responsibility, which we'll get to in just a second. But first, I want to give a focus and a shout out to the Quisenberry ladies, because they did a 101 on federal judges. So Judge Albright, you can tell us if this 101, if there's anything you want to add. Quisenberries, we'll let you take it.
Hi, I'm Juliet. My sister Scarlett wrote this slide, but I'm going to present it. And she's at dance right now, but she wants to be a judge, so I think that's fun. But basically, this is just an intro to judges. So they do criminal and civil cases, and they're part of the judicial branch. And for the most part, federal courts only hear cases where the U.S. is a party, the Constitution or federal law was violated, crimes on federal land, and bankruptcy courts cases. And then there's more examples here. And there are 890 in the United States. And George Washington appointed the first federal judge, so they've been around since forever. And he actually appointed the entire Supreme Court in 1789, which is fun. And Texas is divided into 4 districts, and Austin is in the Western District. And I believe there are 50 federal judges in Texas. And they are appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate, and they can only be removed from office if they are impeached by the House of Representatives and convicted by the Senate. So it's really hard to be removed from office.
Thank you, Juliet. You want to go to the next slide? You want to tell us about that?
Thank you. I'm Shannon Quisenberry. I'll take over here. Thank you,
Okay.
Juliet. So on the left, we see the various levels of court systems in the United States, from the local courts to the state courts to the federal courts, which we're talking about more today, the boxes in blue. So the district courts are the first stop on the federal court system, up to the courts of appeal, of which there are 13 in the United States, and then finally on to the Supreme Court. Worth noting that in select cases, state Supreme Court cases can also be appealed to the Supreme Court as well. And on the right, we see a person, a judge here, and hear about some of the activities in her daily life, which include writing, problem solving, critical thinking, and listening. In addition to having impressive background in the legal system before being appointed to a judge, judges also have to have a lot of really important qualities, and these are really the same qualities that we try to promote in the National Charity League. They should be courteous, they should be kind, they should be fair, courageous, knowledgeable, and they also need to have a lot of self-awareness to know their own biases so that they can both be open-minded and also communicate to others that they are in fact open-minded. And I'm going to close with a quote from Socrates over 24 years ago describing good qualities in a judge. A judge should be able to hear courteously, answer wisely, consider soberly, and to decide impartially. Thanks, Laura.
Quisenberries, thank you so much for your help with that. Judge, do you agree with this 101?
I may steal it from you. I'm gonna get this and show it to people to explain what I do.
Awesome. Okay, now we're going to go into the Woodhouse ladies. The Woodhouses researched you. So we'll see this. FYI, I don't think this is Judge Albright singing, but it's a good picture.
Wish.
Okay, Woodhouse ladies, take it.
All right, thanks very much. So we have the opportunity to introduce you to Judge Albright tonight. So I'm Kathleen Woodhouse, and this is my daughter.
I'm Noelle Woodhouse. I'm a sophomore at Austin High. So some things that we found. He was first got interested in public performance because of Bruce Springsteen, who he said was one of his childhood heroes. And then in Judge Albright's court and in his lyrics, the law will always win. He's a graduate of Trinity University, and after he got his Juris Doctor from the University of Texas School of Law, he ended up teaching there.
I'll give a hook 'em. There we go, hook 'em. Even if we're not Longhorns. Okay.
In the span of 8 months, he went from former President Trump's nomination to being sworn in for the district court. So he was nominated on January 24th in 2018 and confirmed by the Senate on September 6th, 2018. Another hookup. And that was by voice vote. And if you didn't know what that was either, it's when a group vote. Oh, I can't see.
Oh, sorry. I'll read it. A voice vote is when a group vote is taken on a motion verbally.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So a little bit more about Judge Albright, and this is the part, Judge, where you can tell us if we're accurate or not. But according to Google, it said that your biggest honor of your career was being named a member of the American College of Trial Lawyers. And as you heard earlier, he is the magistrate for the Western District of Texas. So he's been in place for 7 years so far, and hopefully a whole lot more to come. Something that I found quite fascinating, and Noelle and I decided would be our fun fact, is that 1/4 of all patent lawsuits in the US are heard by Judge Albright, which is kind of amazing. And Judge, I hope you'll tell us a little bit about that when you speak. Patent lawsuits are when someone violates a patent owner's rights, like if they try and copy something that the patent owner has already made a claim to. So we'll be interested to hear all that and more from our special guest.
So on behalf of Austin 360, we welcome you, Judge Albright. We will take this off now.
Thank you again. I'm honored to be here. I have one slight correction from the last thing. I was a magistrate judge, which is a junior judge in the 90s for 7 years. And then I practiced law doing patent litigation for 20 years. And then I was confirmed as a district judge in 2018, nominated. So since given the audience, I'll tell a personal story to start off. When I started this pursuit, President Trump had just been elected. He had just become president in the beginning of 2017, and neither of my sons, who were in early part of high school could understand why I would want to be a federal judge, give up being a lawyer and all that. And so one of my sons, who I think was in 8th grade, came home and he said, "Did you see what that federal judge did to President Trump?" And I had a pretty good idea, but that was when he was dealing with the embargo he put on people coming from different Muslim states. And a district judge in Seattle had entered a national injunction against him and said he couldn't do it. And my son said, "Are you telling me if you get this job, you can tell the president of the United States he can't do something?" And I said, "Well, yeah, it's a pretty big deal." And so I'm not sure it was until then that he understood why someone might want to do this. I thought as I was out walking my dog, what I might say that was consistent with the month. And, we have the most amazing country because in the 1780s, you had a group of people who put together a government that would be made up of a president who wasn't a king. He wouldn't be elected democratically. He's elected by the Electoral College. You would have a bicameral Congress. One represents the people, straight up Congress. The other, the Senate, is again not really democratic. You can't have 2 senators from Rhode Island and 2 senators from California and think that's fair. And then finally, you would have a group of unelected judges like me who would be there for life. And that if I were to decide that what either the president or Congress or both had done was inconsistent with this Constitution, which was created in 1789, that I could sit here in Waco, could tell the president or Congress, you can't do that. Now, I can get my papers graded, it can be appealed twice to an appellate court and then up to the Supreme Court, but I have that power. And so I was thinking about Martin Luther King and, I was alive, I was young, but I was relatively, I was not yet 12, but, when Martin Luther King was doing what he was doing, I was old enough to appreciate what was going on. And I was thinking about today I have a dream was what I'd like to think he was thinking was, we certainly weren't where we should be in the 60s in terms of the rights for all people, but the dream was already, the blueprint for fulfilling the dream was already there, because we had passed in the 1860s during the Civil War, right after the Civil War, we had freed the slaves. We had given everyone equal rights, regardless of their color or ethnicity. And we had guaranteed them, the now freed slaves and other blacks, the right to vote. So now that wasn't being honored. I mean, there were states that were interfering with the right to vote. They were doing things that were certainly not fulfilling the idea of civil rights, but the blueprint was already there. So then the question is, well, who is it that enforces the blueprint? And that's me. I mean, when I walk into this building, this 3-story building in Waco, and I've had dozens of trials now, and at the end of every trial, I ask the jurors, did they know what this building was before they came here to serve on the jury? They all say, no, just a 3-story brick building we drove by in downtown Waco. But the beautiful thing about our system is that you have lifetime judges who have the ability to force the president and Congress, and maybe really slow, maybe slower than what people would hope for, but you have the federal judges have the power to enforce what is in the Constitution. And, so, we had horrible decisions, the Dred Scott decision from, I think it was 1894, I could be wrong, but, in 1954, that was reversed by the Supreme Court and unanimously. And, separate but equal wouldn't be okay. So it's, when I watch, one of the things I had the hardest time watching a year or so ago was when I watched in Portland, the federal courthouse being attacked. the reason I had such a hard time watching it was because it's the federal courthouse that protects the rights that these people appeared. They're exercising, now it's not violence, that's not okay, but they're exercising their First Amendment rights to protest, and they're attacking the building where the people sit, where that's our job, is to protect that. If the KKK wants to march or the NAACP wants to march, I have the power to say, you have the right to freedom of speech. You get to articulate that speech. That's what the building stands for. That's what I have the power to do. If someone is arrested and the power of the government is going to be exercised against them, it's my job to make sure that that person has all the constitutional right protections that he deserves. He's going to have the right to a lawyer. If he can't afford one, I'll make sure he has one. I'll protect his right if we go to trial, that he doesn't have to just testify. It is my job, a vast majority of my job is to enforce the Constitution and to protect the rights of people, regardless of whether it's someone as big as Google or as small as the person who's getting arrested tonight, who is in my court, for example. It might be an illegal alien who's being arrested for DWI. He's going to be brought to my court because he's here illegally. It might be someone doing something else. But whatever, my most important job is to make sure that in every case, in everything that I do, that I protect the constitutional rights of everybody. And we had such a great system where I'm protected. I don't have to sit there and worry, gosh, if I make this unpopular decision, I could be fired. I could be voted out. I can't be fired. I can't be voted out. I could be by 2/3 of the Senate, but that would take a lot. So now you can have the other people have the other point of view, which is, why is this guy's not even elected? Why does he get to make all these decisions? Well, it's because it's the construct their founding fathers did, 250 years ago. So it's very important. Now, someone mentioned about my patent docket. To give you another idea of how brilliant our founding fathers were, the idea that someone could invent something and that it could be protected is in the Constitution. And the right to a jury trial is in the Constitution. So if you own if you get a patent, it'd be issued by the United States Patent and Trade Office. And if you want to enforce it because you think someone is infringing, you get to come to my court and you bring the lawsuit. And, sometimes it can be a pretty big deal. We had one trial where the jury awarded $2.2 billion. So we do handle some relatively important cases, in our court. But, ultimately, the goal is the administration of justice for everyone that comes in front of me. I find the patent case is very interesting. I was a government major, so I didn't have a technical background, but I practiced that area for 20 years. So I do have some skill at it. But, what I'm inspired by all these young faces I see. I'm inspired by the fact that, unlike when I went to school, now a majority of the students at the UT Law School this year are women. Women are, in every trial now, I'll have the lead lawyers will, there'll be women on each side. It's no longer a big deal for a woman to be one of the trial lawyers in my court. It's more just, well, of course that is, because it's evolved to where, it just is. And so, but the avenues and opportunities that this generation have available to them are just amazing. And, I think we've got such an amazingly exciting future. And to tie it all back, I think that's what Martin Luther King was hoping for was, hold on one second. My dog is tearing up the sofa. I'll be right back. Stop it. Stop. It doesn't like to be ignored. So if you have a 90-pound dog, you have to. But I think the future that Martin Luther King was looking forward to is being realized. Again, was it slower than we hoped for? Yes. But in every instance, I think we see our country moving forward in the most positive ways. And, another example is, well, gosh, what was it? How many years ago? Just 3 or 4, or is that right? But, the idea of gay marriage, just 10 years ago, no one was for gay marriage, no elected politician. Supreme Court took it up, and they found in the Constitution that was something that we couldn't legislate against. And again, the federal courts, that's who moved that issue forward. So I mean, I'm very proud to serve as a federal judge, and to have the ability to make sure that in whatever I'm dealing with, I can do my best to make sure that I treat everyone, as you said, very nicely, very fairly. Hopefully they think I'm smart enough to understand everything. I'm doing a good job. We'll never know. They won't tell me. But it's the most amazing job on the planet. And I hope at least someday, at least one of these young women writes me and says, "Hey, I'm on the bench now." There's a new judge in Fort Worth, and when he was nominated, I called him to congratulate him for being nominated, and he said, "You don't remember me?" I said, "I don't." And he goes, "You taught me at law school in 1999. And I said, "Well, you ought to give me credit then for getting on the bench. Clearly you couldn't have done it if I hadn't been your teacher." So I hope at least one of you all are inspired to go to law school, and and it's a wonderful profession. Certainly I'm all for UT, and someday it'd be wonderful if you got out of law school and wanted to become clerk for me. I have 3 full-time law clerks every year that matriculate out after a year. And to give you an idea, when I think on the notes it said that the judges go back as far as Ronald Reagan, I know that's true because in 1984, I clerked for a federal judge who was a Reagan appointee, and he's still on the bench. So I can tell you, I know who that person is. So I've rambled on a long time. I could probably ramble on more, but if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So we will open the floor to questions. I have one question. Did you always know you wanted to be a judge, or was it just kind of an evolution in what you're doing?
Yeah, no, the answer is no. I knew from the time I was probably in 1st or 2nd grade, I wanted to be a trial lawyer. And that was not a mystery. But what happened was in 1992, so I'm a United States district judge. I'm a trial judge. They have created sort of an ancillary level of judges who can handle most of what I do to help me out. They're not lifetime appointed. They're selected by the district judges. They have almost all the same powers. And so in 1992, at 32, I became the youngest magistrate in the United States. I got that job in Austin, and I served for 7 years. And then in 1999, I decided I wanted to go practice again. So I left and started practicing law. And like I said, for almost 19 years, I did patent litigation all over the United States. So fun facts, I won a case for $100 million. Less fun fact, I lost a case for $1.5 billion. So when I won the first one, my best friend told me, "Hey, you win a dozen more, you'll almost be even with how much you lost in one case." So you have to, but I had a great career as a trial lawyer before I did this.
We have a question in the chat. Let's see. What is the best way to become informed for local voting?
For local voting, gosh. And that is so important. I think what I would do if I were you is, my guess is if you, for example, I'll pick Travis County. My guess is that both the Travis County, there's probably a Travis County Democratic, you could probably look up Travis County Democrats. And if you Google them or Travis County Republicans, my bet is there would be a website that would let you know everyone who's running for the different offices and what their backgrounds are. And then in this age, if there were a particular job you cared about, if it was a state district judge where the person is analogous to what I do. It's a trial judge that's elected to do trials in the state, you know, in which, you know, I'll tell you, you know, for example, right now, I don't know that I could name, I know one person on the Texas Supreme Court, which is pretty pitiful given I'm a lawyer. And I don't know him because he was at my law firm and I went to his swearing in. So that's a wonderful question. And I would strongly advocate for people to look up and see who it is that's running for the local offices, especially ones that matter, whether it's city council or county commissioner, state district judge, local, you know, either your local state representative or your congressman. I mean, I think all that stuff is super important. And it's especially important now because we just did redistricting. So a lot of people will have, I kept noticing all these Lloyd Doggett signs in my neighborhood. I'm like, what? Why is he's not going to lose. And I realized he's been moved into a different district, I think. And so he's doing more campaigning, I think, than he ordinarily would. So
And also a suggestion that the League of Women Voters is a great resource.
that would be, yes, whoever said that. Yeah, they are, and they are probably the vanguard for getting out and you know, getting the vote out. And, you know, you could go work at polling places. You know, I mean, that would be a wonderful thing too. And there's no one who's running for office who wouldn't object to having some free help, putting out yard signs or, you know, doing whatever you know, physical labor, you know, there's no one who would say, no, we got plenty of that. You know, you could help anyone, you know, find someone that kind of inspires you with their story. And I promise you, they would be happy for your help.
That might be an NCL project. Okay, Kathleen, I'm going to let you read your question. Is that okay? If you unmute and read your question?
You can. It's actually Noelle's question. So I'm going to let her read that question.
Let's hear it, Noelle. I love it. Even better.
Oh, so in Antigone, we're reading it for English class, and it's all about this girl who goes against the law so that she can bury her dead brother. And the king's whole thing was like he was too proud to go.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, we lost you.
Oh,
We're still here. You can probably still see us, but not hear us.
Okay, keep going, Noelle. Now we got you.
I just wanted to know if there was ever like a case that you had to defend that went against your own beliefs, but you still like had to do it.
Oh, sure. In fact, that's probably the thing that I spent more time talking to my kids about why I would do this, and they never, you know, how could you represent someone? I represented a guy who was on death row. He had killed a young boy. I mean, boy, 15 or 16-year-old young man, just shot him and killed him because my client was a little nuts. But and you know, it wasn't personal. I mean, I thought what he had done was terrible and all that. But my attitude was, he has the constitutional right to have an effective lawyer to protect his rights. And I was pretty, you know, just put blinders on to the morality of what he had done. And my attitude was, my job was to make sure that the government and all of its power, unlimited resources, that they prove that he did it, and you know, and that they established, you know, under the law that he should be executed. And so I wasn't defending what he had done, or I wasn't sympathetic with what he had done, but I was extremely pro forcing the government to follow all the rules and make sure that he got a fair trial, regardless of the fact he had no money to pay for a lawyer, regardless of the fact that he had really done a heinous crime. And so, you know, I think that, you know, the very best lawyers are the ones who are, you know, take a blind eye to their own personal beliefs to make sure that the rights of, you know, I've had discussions with family members, you know, who will say something like, well, you couldn't represent the KKK, could you? He said, well, of course I could represent the, if the city of Austin told the KKK that they couldn't do a small organized protest, I would have no problem representing them and saying the First Amendment doesn't allow the government to restrict the free commerce of ideas. I think personally, the way we defeat horrible ideas like the KKK are by having more better ideas going back that way. But the Constitution is clear. We do not we don't censor speech. We should censor and prevent violence. Anything that's violent, is certainly outside the ambit of acceptability. But regardless of what the message is, I would have no problem I'll just pick a case. If I've been picked to represent the gay couple who wanted gay marriage to be legal, to be constitutional, I would have no problem representing them. If the state had hired me to say it's unconstitutional, I would have no problem with doing that, because both sides deserve to have an effective advocate. Now, I would vote for a congressman or a senator who would, in my case, who would be pro-gay marriage. That's not my job. My job as an advocate, and my job as a judge now, is also, to set aside what my personal feelings might be. For example, if that case had been from me, in the first instance, it had been filed in my court, and I was having to make that decision, I would try and figure out what the Constitution required, and whichever way it broke, that's the way I would rule. So.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Good questions.
Oh, here's
Y'all ask better questions. I do this a lot with lawyers, and the lawyers' questions are terrible. You guys are doing 1,000 times better.
Jenny, Gary, do you want to read your question? Okay, I will. How has COVID impacted your workplace?
Boy, so I'm going to make a statement, and then I'm going to make headlines, and I'm going to say that as odd as it sounds, at one level, COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me. Now, let me explain why. Prior to January, March, whatever, February, March of when COVID hit, my court would never have allowed cameras, high tech, anything into the court. If anything that happened in my court would be inside that courtroom that's behind me that y'all can't see. Because of COVID, which changed the world dramatically, I now do not my trials. My trials are in person because I have a jury here, and I do my sentencings in person out in the courtroom. But everything else I do by Zoom. And the great thing about it is that, if you all are in San Antonio, you can attend. You don't have to drive to Waco. If you're a client, you can attend and watch how your lawyers do. You don't have to come to Waco. Something else that I do, what I've done is I've invited every law firm. I've told them they get more time and more liberty with what we're doing if they'll make sure that the youngest person on their staff gets an opportunity to speak in front of me. And so there's no expense. You could have a first-year lawyer who's in New York who gets to appear by Zoom, and there's no extra expense to the client. They do a great job. And so I say younger less because now every lawyer that's in front of me is younger. What I'm talking about are the really young lawyers who've been out for a year or two. But COVID, I'll tell you a horrible story though. I'll make it in Del Rio, which is also Del Rio. If you don't know where it is, it's kind of between on the border, sort of just south of El Paso. It's down that way. Oh, it's a couple of hours from San Antonio if you go west. And they had so many people waiting for trial, criminal trials because of COVID, that I went down there to help. And there was someone who, before I could get to his trial, had already served the maximum amount of time he could serve under that sentence, waiting for trial in pretrial custody. And that can't work. So, I was one. If you did actually Google me, one of the ways I did make headlines was very early on. I was one of the first judges who went back to trial. I had last year I had 16 jury trials, during COVID. So I I kept going. I think justice is too important. We did lots of stuff to protect everyone in my courtroom. You know, we made it very safe. We had no problems. But I think go back to the original theme: justice delayed is justice denied. That was in the context of the civil rights, but it's probably even more true in terms of the rights of those who are incarcerated.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Kate Prescott. Kate, do you want to read your question so it's not my voice?
Yeah, it's actually Ellie's question, but she won't articulate it. So I'll ask it for her. Given what you just said about freedom of speech, how do you reconcile that with the right to ban books?
Well, it depends. If you're talking about in terms of public schools, the right to ban, you know,
Yeah, that's a topical one.
Because I think you have public schools and then public libraries, which are different. And, you know, I would think in terms of public schools, my guess would be that parents have more rights to decide what their children are going to have access to, because they're minors, they're mostly going to be looking at it. I think, I don't know, I think if it's the parents vis-a-vis the school board or whatever, they're making the decision of what is and isn't in the library, I think that's less of a First Amendment concern, because you know, in the same way that, you know, for example, you have a Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights that, for example, kids don't have. You know, the principal can go look in their locker because it's at school. I think if it were a public library, I think the idea of banning books, short of anything, you know, I would be okay with banning a book that explained how to create a nitroglycerin bomb, maybe, or something like that. But if the banning in a public library, which is funded by all of us, however public libraries are funded, I don't know what the tax base is exactly, but I would have a hard time saying, if I were the judge, saying that was okay to ban books in a public library. I probably would have a pretty expansive view of what is protected by the First Amendment there, because there you would have the city government restricting what books are in there, and I think that would impinge a First Amendment right much more. I think schools kind of fall out of the real pure ambit of the First Amendment because of the rights of parents to decide what their kids get to look at.
Very good. Thank you. We have a lot of more questions. We'll keep going if that's okay. We still have a little bit of time. The next one is from Gracious. Linda Murphy, would you like to ask your question? How do you participate in a trial?
Mostly I sit there like Jabba the Hutt. Truly, I participate very, very little in the trial. The lawyers are asking the questions. Unless someone objects, I have very little to do while the trial is going on. But what happens is there's an enormous amount of stuff, procedural stuff that goes in before the trial starts, where lots of things are going on. And so that's 95% of my work, is kind of getting it ready, getting the football game ready to go. And then I'm just a referee during the football game. I don't do a great deal during the game, but not unlike a referee, you know, there are times when it's a pretty important decision that I'm going to make, whether the ball was in or out. And so the rulings are very important, but I tend to have a very light touch. Federal judges are unique in that I have the power to be involved. I can involve myself and ask questions. I could be a lot more aggressively involved in participating in the trial than I am. I pretty much sit back and let the law. My goal is to make sure everything's fair and that they're playing cricket with each other and being and you know. But because when I was a trial lawyer, I didn't want the judge interfering with what I was doing. I wanted to win or lose on my own. You know, you're thinking that sometimes. You're like, Judge, I can lose this without your help, you know, if you just be quiet. So
it's funny. Okay, next question is from Dawn Marie. Would you like to speak, Dawn Marie? Unmute yourself. Okay, I'm going to read it. What are your thoughts on the potential expansion of the Supreme Court?
You know, I won't comment too much on it because I am a federal judge, but I would say that, you know, we have, I think there has been this enormous value. I would agree with what the Supreme Court justices have said, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who there is an enormous value in having stability. We've had a 9-member court for, I think, 150 years. I think if we were to suddenly change the number of justices, I think the public might regard what the Supreme Court does as more partisan, because if you can suddenly add 2 or 4 new people, and plus it would, in my opinion, it would dramatically destabilize the court, because, you know, in 2024, who knows, it might be a Republican that gets elected in a Republican Senate, and they might say, well, you added 4, we're going to add 8. You know, now we're going to have a 22 person or 21 person. And so I think there's enormous value in the you know, the way the law works is we have, and it's a stare decisis, his name is Latin, but basically, you know, while there are issues like Roe versus Wade that continue to percolate up because legislatures continue to pass legislation that's impacted, the vast majority of cases, for example, I would be surprised if anyone would challenge ever again, a state would pass a law that says 2 men can't get married. You know, I think most issues, once they're decided by the Supreme Court, we move on from there with it having been decided. And I would not want to lose that. I think that's the value of the Supreme Court, is having things finally decided with the 9 that we have. And you're about to see how the system works. I mean, President Biden is about to get to pick a Supreme Court justice. That's the way it works. Is Justice Breyer is stepping down, and President Biden was elected. It's a majority Democratic Senate. They're going to get to put who they want on there.
Very good. I got a private message asking, do you personally have any physical protection, and do you think it's necessary?
I have a 90-pound Rhodesian Ridgeback. When I'm in the courtroom, when I'm in the courthouse, and anytime I'm in court, I have an enormous amount of protection. There's always at least 1 armed person, and if it's a criminal proceeding, there are usually about 5. So yes, inside the courthouse. But you know, I'll say, you know, I've been in Waco for 3.5 years, and really the only person who knows who I am is, we have a place right next door that has great tacos, and they know who I am, and I'm a judge. 99% of Waco, when they see me walking, would have no idea who I am. So I'm pretty safe. I'm pretty anonymous. So
Very good. Have you ever overturned a jury verdict?
I have not overturned a jury verdict. Now, when I was a magistrate judge in the 90s, I did once. So I have not overturned a jury verdict as a district judge.
Great. We have a couple more. The Quisenberry ladies, I see Scarlett joined. Scarlett did the big report for you. Do you want to ask that question that you all had about high school?
Sure. I was just wondering about any activities in school or out of school that you did that kind of aided in the start of your legal career.
I thought debate was great.
Yes,
I thought debate was great.
Yeah.
And by the way, are you all related at all to Dale Quisenberry?
Nope.
Okay. I had 20 years ago, I had a client named Dale Quisenberry, who's just a phenomenally great guy. So I was curious, but yeah, I think debate is great. And then also, I think both of my sons treat books like they are some form of toxic poison. I actually think reading a lot helps. I think the more you read, the more you think about things, the more you learn, the better a person you'll be, but the better lawyer you'll be, because you just, your vocabulary will be better. You'll be able to write better. It's being able to write extremely well is an asset that still even a lot of lawyers don't have. And if you do have that, you'll be a hot commodity in the legal world, just because there's always the need for people who can think well and write well. And also for me, I wasn't that bright, but I could argue stuff pretty well. So that's what I did. I had a career where I spent most of my time staying on my feet and talking to juries or judges.
2 more questions. We have a serious one and then kind of a fun one. So we'll try to
Okay.
make it quick because we want to finish up under an hour. Do you think Roe will be overturned?
Won't say. I have an opinion, but I won't. But it's interesting. Let me say it like this. Let me not completely dodge it. I think that there are a number of outcomes that could occur where Roe versus Wade is not actually overturned. And what I mean by that is the Supreme Court could, so Plessy versus Ferguson, which we talked about, said basically separate but equal is okay. And then in Brown versus Board of Education, the Supreme Court says we are overturning one of our decisions because we believe we believe we got it fundamentally wrong in the Constitution. So that is one possibility, is that there might be enough votes to say Roe versus Wade was wrongly decided and we are going to overturn Roe. That's one possibility. But there's another and there's a possibility that a majority would say, no, that's wrong, and we're going to strike down the Mississippi law. But I think within the construct of Roe, I think a court could say that 16, because Roe was a construct that said first trimester, the woman has almost exclusive, we're going to put all the weight on the rights of the woman. Last trimester, a lot of weight on the rights of the person inside. And then we'll let the states fight in the middle trimester over when it's viable about what the state's going to decide. If you think of it that way, I think you could argue that 16 weeks is close enough to, they could do away with, in my opinion, the concept of the necessity of viability, and instead say, we're going to find 16 weeks is sufficient within the construct of Roe, where you have up to 16 weeks to make this decision. We're not overturning Roe versus Wade, but we are overturning the viability component, and we're going to say that this 16 weeks is enough, which is kind of an open question. I think that is a possibility, and I won't tell you which of the 3 I think is the most likely, but I don't think it has to be all Roe is reversed or Roe is not reversed and the law struck down. I think there are different ways they could cobble it together. A prediction I will make is that you'll have I could be wrong, but I think you could have a number of opinions. I think will have to be a majority of at least 5 who say this is the result, but you could have any number of different reasons why and different opinions, and so they would only find a certain result is okay, but it'd be a pretty fractured opinion, a pretty fractured decision. And I think that's a possibility too.
Great insight. It's nice to hear all the gray, right? It's not all black and white.
In that one, there is an enormous amount of gray for sure.
Thank you. We have one more fun one. Tina, would you all like to read this? I love these questions. Tina, would you like to read it?
You can do it.
Okay, great. Does your dog go to work with you? And what is that case by the door? What's in the case?
Case by the door is a Rickenbacker guitar. I play the guitar and sing a little bit. And my dog is asleep right now. right next to me, about 3 feet away. And my condo is about 5 blocks from here. So we're going to walk the 5 blocks home. And my guess is he'll jump in my bed and be asleep. So.
Do you play Bruce Springsteen on your guitar?
I was at a party Saturday night and I played Bruce Springsteen. Yes. So.
Very good.
Yes.
I want to just thank you again for being here. What a treat for us to have you. And I also I want to make a call out to Lynn Jordan. Lynn secured you with your assistant, I think. Lynn, do you want to say hello to us?
Hi, of course, I'll say hi. Hi, Judge Albright. Thank you so much. We really appreciate this. I had I thought of you because I asked if you would speak back in, I think it was October, for my son's YMSL group, and you were so gracious and said you really wanted to do it, but couldn't because you were going on vacation, I think to Vermont, maybe, if my memory serves. So that's what inspired me to ask you again, because you were so
I'm happy to do the
thoughtful.
YMSL as well. So just let me know. I'm happy to help any way I can.
Lynn, thank you so much. We all have jobs in NCL, and so Lynn's been a great asset, and we are so grateful for all that you did. Judge Albright, thank you.
If you're ever in Waco, stop by the courthouse. I'm 3 blocks away from the silos one way, 3 blocks away from the Dr. Pepper Museum in another. And so, you know, in fact, the silos just bought the building right next to my courthouse that's going to become their headquarters. So, you know, pretty soon there'll be a lot of traffic coming down here. And again, no one will know what I do.
Well, if we go to we'll know who you are now. We're going to spot you when we're in Waco. So thank you so much. I don't know if you can see the chats. It's blowing up with thank you. We are so grateful.
I'm delighted. And like I said, I hope I get a call or a text or something from one of you someday. It says, I just got out of law school and I want to be, I'm in law school. I'd like to be an intern or a clerk. I wouldn't be happier than to have y'all. So
you might get some calls for some jobs too. So there you go. Thank you so much.
Your lips to God's ears. I can use all the talent. Last summer we had 22 interns from different law schools working here. So
wow,
we're pretty busy. So things are good.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. You are welcome to stay for the business meeting, or if you would like to go ahead and leave for the evening, that's fine.
I'm gonna take my dog. I'm gonna go eat dinner, and but I very much enjoyed this. Stop by if you're ever in Waco. Take care.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you to all the guests who came tonight. What a special treat. We hope this opens up doors for all of us to get together more often. We are so thrilled you came. Now you know who we are, so let's do something together with our girls and our chapters. Maybe we can serve together. Denise Burke, thank you. So great to see you. I love seeing some of these names. I'm on a lot of different chats within NCL. So all of you, when you become president and you have an opportunity in those 6 years, you'll get to meet a lot of these people. We will go ahead and open up into our business meeting, if that's okay. I'll share my screen in just a minute. Our minutes from the last meeting are on the website, and I hope you all have had a chance to read that. Can I get a call for an approval of the minutes? From anyone?
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
I second.
Sorry.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. All right, so just want to focus again on what we did tonight. What a great leader in Judge Albright. And I'm thinking a lot of youth girls should apply for a job with him. What a great opportunity. We led in many ways. I want to thank you, of course, to Lynn Jordan. Thank you so much for securing him as a speaker. I want to thank you to the Quisenberries, the Woodhouses, and the Gutshows for helping host as well. Your research and presentation was really fabulous. And I also want to point out that we served our chapter and our district chapters and promoting the support for each other, the inclusion and the unity, which speaks to our DEI initiatives and the greater good. And I hope everyone had a little bit of fun. Shauna, do you want to tell us a little bit about tea?
Yes, Anne Marie sent a
what's the word I'm thinking? Another reminder to RSVP for the tea. We're trying to get some head counts. I know some people were undecided when it first went out, but if you could let us know if you're going to be coming or not. And we're going to be working on how to make it up for those that can't attend. We know that there's going to be things that pop up that you just can't accommodate both, and we'll work with you guys. So stay tuned for more information on that, and we will be in touch. Anne-Marie, do you have anything else to add?
Nope, that was it. I got a lot more RSVPs today, so thank y'all for replying.
All right, thank you.
Anne-Marie, thank you for all that you and the committee are doing. It's going to be a great event. We also usually give a budget update at our meeting. We didn't want to do that tonight with all of the guests that were here. You can go into the minutes from the last meeting, and then we'll of course do that again. So that will be to come. And ladies, it is, I forgot to call us to order, but I think we all know it came to order like at 7:04 and then it came again at 8 o'clock. And the business meeting, oh, Sherry Jones just gave us the bank balance in chat because Sherry's an amazing treasurer. She's got it right there ready for us. Sherry, you're amazing. Thank you. So all of us can see that. We have $31,095.55. And Lynn, you're so sweet. We are all in this together. Our board is phenomenal and encouraged me to invite all of the other chapters, and I'm so glad we did. So thank you to everyone. It is 8:05, 8:06, and our meeting is adjourned. Thanks, ladies.